Hello and welcome to the Power Selling Podcast. I'm your host, Danna Crawford, the Power Selling Mom. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited as always because today we have Kevin and Jeannie. And Kevin Reeth is a serial entrepreneur currently serving as the CEO and founder of Seller Ledger Incorporated. He was previously the CEO and founder of Outright, which many of you may remember Outright if you have been a long-term seller on eBay. Outright was acquired by GoDaddy and became GoDaddy Bookkeeping. He was also the chief product officer at TaxJar. Prior to his entrepreneurial enterprises, Kevin spent over a decade working in product management at Intuit, including leading product management for Quicken, the company's flagship product of all time. So him and his wife together have created this amazing business called Seller Ledger. Now, Jeannie Reeth is a social consumer marketing and general manager currently serving as Seller Ledger's marketing officer. She spent more than a dozen years working in leadership roles for eBay, serving as senior director of eBay's social business unit, director of eBay's international marketing team, chief operating officer of human resources, category management roles, and so much more. Wow, Jeannie. Prior to eBay, Jeannie worked for a number of Silicon Valley startups, and she has also taught entrepreneurship at the University of Nevada, Reno. Wow. It's just my pleasure to have them both. They're just genuine, down-to-earth people that have created this amazing business. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, thank you for joining me today. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
I'm Jeannie Reeth, Chief Marketing Officer for Seller Ledger.
And I'm Kevin Reeth, founder and CEO of Seller Ledger.
Why is it important for online sellers to track their finances and have good bookkeeping accounting practices?
You know, the biggest reason for this is everybody has to pay taxes if they're making money, right? So the reason that people kind of have to do bookkeeping is that accounting piece to be able to pay taxes. And you don't want to pay more than you need to in taxes. So making sure you're getting those numbers right. You don't want to declare things as income that aren't income. You don't want to miss deductions that you could have had so that you're not paying more in taxes than you should. So that's the biggest reason that most sellers, get into this. But if you want to be more sophisticated around how you're managing your business, there's a lot you can do to understand your finances and what's driving the growth in your business, which products are bringing you the most in terms of profits, and what should you go and source more of, so that the analysis and understanding those drivers of your business is really important too. And it can even do things like helping you avoid stockouts with your inventory and just knowing where all of that product is. So those are a couple of the reasons that it is really important for people to track their business, manage their numbers. I know it's usually not the most fun part of running a business, but it is pretty necessary.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if you ever heard Griff from eBay would always say, know your numbers. He would always say. So it's true. It's true. Yeah. So tell us, what services does Seller Ledger provide to help with this?
So the biggest thing we do is, for most e-commerce sellers, the data is out there electronically, and we just go out and grab it automatically and bring it into the software. And the very first thing we do, because we understand the data, we've been in this industry for a while, as you know, is we'll categorize it and put it in the right places for your Schedule C tax form. And we also do a really good job of bringing in data from banks and credit cards. So the payouts, for example, that you get from eBay, you don't want to double count that, right? They're going to show up as deposits in your bank account, but you also have all of your eBay sales data. Well, we identify those, we match them, and we make sure that they don't get double counted. We only count the product sales and stuff when you come in. And then also help you track things that eBay and other sources don't know about. So mileage tracking is a big deal. So all of the travel you do to source, you travel to every trip to the post office to ship out your stuff. You want to be able to write that off. Your home office, any place that you use to store inventory, you're allowed to deduct that. right? So those are the kind of things that we do. And the software's been built from the ground up to be e-commerce focused. So we very much tailor the kind of accounting and bookkeeping experience to be for people who are running e-commerce businesses.
So how does Seller Ledger compare to other providers in this space?
When we think about kind of who the competition is, really the two biggest options are still manual options like spreadsheet and pencil and paper. We hear that a lot, especially from newer sellers. And it's a great way to get started, but when you do that, you will quickly find that you're spending a lot more time tracking finances than you really want to. And so that's where the automation comes into play. And then the other is kind of the granddaddy in the space, which is QuickBooks, which honestly, for most small e-commerce sellers, it's massive overkill. QuickBooks really started as it's designed for people who are service-based businesses. You send out invoices. They're very heavily focused on payroll and, they have lots of services to sell you. But e-commerce kind of got shoehorned in there, right? They added these, there's third-party connectors that you can use to try and take e-commerce data, make it make sense in QuickBooks. And it just makes it very convoluted and complex. And so that's where we focus on is it's automation, but it's simple as well, right? And so that's kind of our focus.
QuickBooks is complicated. I just canceled mine a few months ago. It's just too much. It's too much to figure out the categories, and it's just over my head. I couldn't do it anymore, but
yeah, 100%. If you go and Google anything online, whether on Reddit or Quora, anywhere else, you'll find hundreds of posts where people say, I tried it, it's just too hard. It's too complex, numbers don't match, all of that stuff. So, yeah.
And the cost is pretty substantial too. They get you in on some good deals at the start, but then look out when you're having to pay full price for it.
I know, right? And when I wanted to cancel, they said, "Oh, we'll give it to you for $1 a month for the next 4 months."
Right.
And I was like, "Well, okay." And then I put it on my calendar so that I could make sure I canceled because it went up to like almost $40 a month.
Yeah. And that's for the basic tier with just one connection. If you're a multi-channel seller, you have to go up to their middle tier, which is like $75. If you want to track inventory, it's like $110. Costs just keep going up. And everything I just mentioned, it's all included in Seller Ledger. And it's like our pricing is based on how much data comes in. It's all on the automation. So you can sell on 5 different channels, and we have a lot of sellers who do this. But they're small sellers and they're still only paying $10 a month, right? So that's kind of our approach.
That's impressive. So share a bit about the background of Seller Ledger and how long has the company been doing this? We all want to know.
Yeah, so Danna, I know you remember Outright and GoDaddy bookkeeping from back in the day, but for those who don't remember, Kevin created that product. So he was the founder and CEO at Outright. GoDaddy then acquired it. And many sellers remember the mid-year out of the blue shutdown that left a bunch of sellers in the lurch because, if you're tracking your finances for the year in order to submit your taxes the following April, it's really difficult to change systems in the middle of the year. So that's where Seller Ledger was born, was in, after hearing about the shutdown, Kevin started reaching out to various different sellers to see if there was an interest in bringing the product back. And so as a result, Seller Ledger was launched in March of 2023. That's when the company officially started. Kevin had a long background in product and the financial software space. He was also the head of product at TaxJar and spent many years at Intuit before that. So that's kind of his background. My background was with eBay. I worked for eBay for about a dozen years, both in category management and marketing roles in the early 2000s.
Honestly didn't realize it, Jeannie.
Yeah. I started in collectibles back in 2001 in category management and, evolved into a number of different roles. A lot of those leaf categories and that back end structure, I created a bunch of those for everybody.
Wow.
But Yeah, it was a really neat time at eBay. I got to go to some of those really big eBay Live events before we had eBay Open. We would have 20,000 customers at those events. And it was just a really neat experience. So many sellers being able to create businesses from home, with challenges that they had had in other ways. And it was a really, really neat experience.
It's awesome. Yeah, and eBay's come a long way since then, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
But you complement other platforms as well, marketplaces? You
Yeah, in
said
terms of integration with our software.
yes.
Oh, yeah, we connect directly to Amazon, Etsy, Shopify, Walmart. We also have other ways to get data in with Poshmark, Mercari, Whatnot, which is growing like gangbusters these days.
Yes.
Depop, folks like that. And we're working on some things for more kind of, there are a ton of smaller kind of platforms out there. Most of them are really bad at providing you with financial data. So we're working with some ways to help people kind of figure out ways to get that data in as well.
That's great. So what advice do you have for newer online sellers around managing their books when they're just getting started?
So that's a great question. And this is definitely coming from the perspective of kind of the back end and financial and accounting stuff.
Okay.
Number one thing is, even if you're not forming an LLC or something else, you don't have to do that.
Okay.
But at least get a separate bank and credit card account, or not even a credit card, just use a debit card, but get a separate bank account. Because when you commingle stuff, trying to figure out at the end of the year, you spend all of this time kind of categorizing, oh, this is business, this is personal. If you just start with a separate bank account that's a business account, you're halfway there. Then the other, I would say, is, write everything down that you think might be business related. Because what you don't want to do is get to the end of the year and be like, where did I spend? I thought I bought this. I thought I did that. So whether it's, keep a copy of every receipt in a shoebox or just write it down on a piece of paper. And then as your business grows and gets a little bit more serious, I would recommend the degree to which you can focus on just some of the automation, because otherwise you're either going to pay for it with time yourself at the end of the year, or you're going to pay with your tax preparer by giving them a whole bunch of manual stuff, and they're going to spend a lot of time on it. And so make their life easier, try and automate as much of it as possible. Again, having that separate bank account. So if nothing else, you can log in, grab their statements. Most banks will let you download your transaction history for many months in a CSV format. And then if you consider kind of more automated software like ours, we can handle all of that.
That's great.
And
That's
Danna,
so
I'm sorry. I'll share with you as well. We have a comprehensive guide to bookkeeping and accounting for
Okay.
sellers that's full of great tips like that. So I'll share that link with you, and maybe you could share that with your listeners as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I'll definitely add that into the comments below and on YouTube. And for those that are tuning in on audio, definitely check the main page and look for that, or I'll have it also posted on, is it available on your website?
It is.
Okay, perfect. So for sellers who are interested, where can they learn more about Seller Ledger and your policies, pricings, and your guides?
Yeah, so you said the website is the key place to
Okay.
find all of this. So sellerledger.com, there is a pricing tab there. There's a reviews tab where you can look and see what other customers have been saying. There's a how it works video series that, in just sort of 1 to 3 minute long little video clips shows you how the product works, so you can see it with data in there and what it looks like. And then that, comprehensive guide, which is all of the tips and tricks of how to do this well if you're getting started in this space and want to do a good job with your bookkeeping. We also have a blog, so sellerledger.com/blog. We're always publishing articles there, both product releases and updates and things that have been added or improved, as well as general accounting and bookkeeping best practices there. And then you can follow us on social media. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
Perfect. Perfect. So AI is like my best friend. I know, and it's a big buzzword everywhere now. So is that something that Seller Ledger is using? And if so, how are you using it?
We are using it, though we don't really market it because a lot of it is kind of buzzwords. And A lot of what people are promising these days, kind of like they set high expectations, and it's not quite there yet. But
Okay.
I'll give you a couple of examples. So one of the biggest issues, so all of the data that we get from eBay and Amazon and Shopify and all those places, their APIs do a good job describing the data. So we've been handling that very well from the beginning. But a lot of data that you get from banks or that you might upload in other ways is a little harder to understand just by the nature of how the data is stored. Helping categorize bank transactions when they come in, it definitely helps with that. And one of the coolest features where we use it is for those people who are tracking inventory, rather than going and having to type everything in, they can literally take a picture of their receipt of the items that they purchased, which will have, all the individual costs as well as any sales tax and stuff like that. We actually use AI. If you upload that picture for a transaction, we'll break it out. It can be an image, it can be a PDF, whatever. And we can parse that and identify the individual products, the costs, as well as things like sales tax that get shared across. And then we allocate kind of your cost of goods for those inventory items right then and there. So yeah, it's pretty big. And there's stuff that we have in the works around bank statements and things like that. So we really look at the technology to make the process simpler for people. Our goal with this software eventually is it's kind of like the George Foreman grill, like set it and forget it. We want to get it to the point where people have to spend very little time in our software, right? Instead of having to come in and categorize or change transactions, it's kind of like, no, the software just gets smarter. The more you use it, the smarter it'll get, and AI will be doing the work for you. So that's kind of the plan.
That's impressive. That's very impressive. I love the fact that I could upload my receipts like that.
Yeah.
'Cause it's so annoying. I mean, anymore, I try to just have receipts mailed to me, emailed to me. So I
Yep.
don't. So if that's the case, if they're emailed, how would we be able to upload those?
So if they're emailed to you, if there's an attachment, you
Yeah.
can save the attachment and then upload it to
Okay.
our software. If it's just the email, you could take a screenshot and upload the screenshot, and we'll do that too. Yeah.
Perfect. Love it. Okay, it's Q4 right now. So what can sellers be doing during Q4 to make tax season easier for themselves?
Yeah, well, we know Q4 is really busy for
Yes.
everybody, and your primary focus has to be on listing your products, getting your stuff shipped, filling those orders, customer service, all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But the thing to know is if you are doing enough business that taxes are going to be a pain in the neck for you when Q1 comes around and April 15th rolls around, the sooner you can put software in place that automates that for you, the better. So, you can almost think of software these days as like an AI agent or a human bookkeeper that does the work for you. I think it's been around for a little longer. So a few of the bugs have been worked out that people are dealing with AI right now. But that software is going and getting your data and putting it in the right categories for you. So you don't have to think about it. And the more automated you make your stuff, the less of your time you will have to spend on it. So, again, like Kevin said before, getting your data all in one place, having that single business checking account where all your online sales revenue gets deposited, using a single business credit or debit card where you're purchasing your inventory, as much of that as you can. You do want to document it regularly if you have cash transactions or a mileage expense that's not going to get picked up by those things. On the whole, the easiest way to get all of that picked up is with a software provider like Seller Ledger to automate it for you. And then one thing to know is if you are signing up for an annual plan, we will go back to January 1 of this year and get all of the data that's available from this calendar year for you, as well as give you that 12-month plan going forward. Doing that sooner is a big help in terms of having that data available when you're trying to look at calendar year 2025 for your taxes that you submit.
Yes, and what a exciting way to start the new year, because
Yeah.
as Q4 comes to an end.
Well, and to have it done for you, right? That's
Yeah.
automated Schedule C report rolls it up in exactly those categories that you have to submit for your taxes. So you really, once you automate that and you have the right data flowing in, there's very little work to do when it comes time to submit taxes.
Nice. Thanks for making it so easy.
That's what we try to do.
So what's next? What's next for Seller Ledger?
A few things. Right now, we are rolling out. We've heard a lot of feedback from people who are selling places outside of kind of the key marketplaces. So we're working on some things there. And then there are, especially when people start to do that, they encounter the fun that is sales tax collection, and having to do that. And since the Supreme Court decision with Wayfair, the big marketplaces like eBay and Etsy and Amazon, they will collect and remit the sales tax for sellers, but anything off marketplace there, you're still responsible for. And that just opens a little bit of a can of worms for people. And traditionally, and this was the last startup I was involved with, TaxJar, it's been separate software to go help you with that, which is a little bit crazy for a small seller to have their accounting platform and then have to use different software to also track their sales tax. So we're working on some things there. And in fact, we rolled out a few things recently to help people understand what kind of nexus they might have in other states, economic nexus. States passed these very entertaining laws that say if you sell over a certain amount, kind of like the 1099K threshold, you now have nexus and you have to collect sales tax there, right? It starts to get very confusing. We're going to try and boil that down and make it very simple for people. So, we do an awful lot of customer support. Our product team does it, right? So we don't outsource support to anybody else. We answer all the questions, and we do that so that we can stay on top. So when people have, if there's any confusion about a certain area of e-commerce accounting, we're there to help. And if there's a way to make the product better.
Great. And you're a family owned. I love that you guys are. Yeah. Yeah. Jeannie and Kevin, thank you so much. Do you have any final words?
Thank you for having us. I don't know. Do you have any final words?
No, I know Q4 is a tough time for sellers who are juggling it all. And I would just encourage folks to do the things that can make life easier for you. So check out Seller Ledger, and it's designed to be the easiest to use and most affordable solution in the space.
Seller Ledger is 100% free to try for 30 days. No credit card needed. So it's your chance to go check it out, sellerledger.com.
We love people's feedback on, additional things you'd like to see in the product. And we wish all sellers the best of luck this holiday season.
Thank you very much. And we'll look forward to following you on social media.
Thank you.
Thanks, Danna.
Thank you. Wow. I'm sure you are as blown away as I am. I can't tell you enough how much I enjoy this couple. They're so genuine and down to earth and just fantastic, friendly people. So if you ever get to see them, if you go to any of these events around the country, you definitely want to look them up and meet them in person if you get the opportunity. Again, Jeannie and Kevin, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you to all my listeners for being here. This episode of the Power Selling Podcast is brought to you by Riva, the AI platform that automates complex e-commerce operations with AI agents. From creating product content to managing inventory across channels and recovering value from returns. Riva helps brands, retailers, and wholesalers scale faster with less overhead. Learn more at riva.ai. I'm Danna Crawford, the Power Selling Mom, and you're tuning in to the Power Selling Podcast. If you'd like to be a guest on my show, please reach out to me direct at powersellingmom@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing your tips and tricks. Anything you'd like to share with our community, I'd love to hear from you. So until next time, happy online selling.